Welcome, everybody, to another episode of Dave Cooper Live Expert Interview. And as you can see, we have the one, the only Greg Ugalde joining us today. Greg, thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you, Dave. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon. All right, everybody, listen, we're going to have a great show for you today. We have Greg Ugalde, who is on today, the immediate past chairman of the NAHB. And we're also going to have a surprise guest, Judy Dinelle, join.
That's right.
Who is the chair of all the associate members. But first, I want to thank our sponsor, Garcia Strongberg from Garcia Strongberg Architects, for sponsoring this show and also all the wonderful work they are doing. If you do not know Garcia Strongberg Architects out of West Palm Beach, Florida, you should know them. I guarantee you stayed in one of the resorts somewhere throughout the world. They are renowned architects, designers, and musicians, believe it or not. And they're actually pretty awesome people. So thanks, Garcia Strongberg. Love it. All right, Greg, I think we should tell everybody to hit that like and share button right now because we are live on 3 locations, LinkedIn,
There we go.
YouTube, and Facebook. Greg, you've had a busy couple weeks, right? We had the fall board, and all kinds of things going on. So we're looking forward to jumping right into this today because we got a lot to cover because then we're bringing the one and only Judy Dinelle on, and that's
right.
A conversation.
That's right.
So let's hop into it. Why don't you give us kind of a quick update on what you've been up to, and then I think what we can do is hop right into IBS after that.
Okay, so just a couple quick things that I think that people are in tune with and that we have to go over, or codes. As you know, housing affordability has been pretty important to me during my year as chairman and all my years as a senior officer. And we continue to work on many of the issues in codes. And why is that so important? Well, we always look at everything through the affordability angle and what it means when we're building structures, both on and off site, right? But especially for the group listening today, what it means for off-site construction and how the codes, in the model codes in particular, affect those. So I do want to call your attention to a website that we have put together that's compiled a lot of the information, and it's nahb.org/codes-reform. And Dave has it scrolling across for us. And the reason why that's important is it allows you to see the development of what we're discussing internally at NAHB, some of the debates we're having on what's important to different groups in different areas. But the main part is that we do need more financial information anytime we look at implementing new codes. We like to see the ability for local jurisdictions to use the ability to amend model codes as they see fit so that you get some of the geographic challenges, weather differences, those kinds of things taken care of. And we work very closely with the ICC, which is the code development group. And we're trying to overcome some of the things that came up, some online voting concerns we're trying to work through. And we had a tremendous week resolving some of the issues and finding a common ground, a point of common ground to move forward as we keep working this through. So that issue was front and center. A couple other things I'm just thinking of. We always try to keep everybody updated on the whole pandemic and how to keep your job sites updated with OSHA requirements, with just everything. And we have a site set up for that too, Dave. We have, so when you look at the coronavirus, and, many call it COVID-19 as different names, but this whole pandemic period has really set forth challenges that we've never had to face, on job sites before. So you're going to see that scroll across .org/coronavirus. Plenty of information, a lot of good forms, materials that you can use for your job sites to be able to stay on top of this. I think that, Probably the one thing that I'll mention before we talk about IBS a little bit and then bring Judy, make sure you vote. You know, the elections of tomorrow, we've never seen is the divides that we see, but how contested they are. And there's a lot at stake. Everything from the court, judges appointed to court, to the control of the Senate, which is so critical for everybody. But you just have to make sure to get out to vote. And we have a website for you to see on that too. When we look at it, you know, building systems and all of our members across the board, if you go to nahb.org/endorsements, you're going to see those candidates, whether you're incumbent or new, but candidates in the House and the United States Senate that are pro-housing, pro-business. We've screened them. We work with all the local areas, the local jurisdictions, the state and local associations, to make sure that if you're going to earn our endorsement and we're going to ask our members to support you, that you've met with some pretty tough criteria from where we sit. So check that out too. It's a helpful guide. There's so much information out there and so many different issues, but this is a good way to gauge. And we spend a lot of time through our build pack and efforts just around the clock. But now in particular with election day tomorrow, my wife's town clerk, Dave, as you know, and it is, they were there all weekend. The balloting has been astronomical prior to election day. You can throw it in the boxes. People are voting early. You'll see some challenges for different things, but a lot of people are voting, and we need a very high percentage. That's your right. It's really, in my mind, a duty to make sure that you vote and know who you're voting for.
Yeah, absolutely. Get out there and definitely vote. And, you know, listen, we're doing good things in the housing market right now. NAHB is doing great things. So I agree with that. I want to unpack a couple of these things. Can I unpack a couple of things like the code reform, Greg?
Sure.
So let's kind of talk about that. You mentioned with the offsite construction and you know, what you guys are looking at, the code reform, and you needed some more financial data. What is it that we should know in the offsite construction industry to help? What do you need? How do we share that information? And who on behalf of the NAHB is looking at these codes for the offsite construction industry?
So we have a codes group, CC&S, and that's our codes committee. Just like we're going to have Judy, who's going to talk about and give an update on associates. Well, our codes committee they're the scholars of codes around the country. We have people from every walk of life, from all jurisdictions. They are the ones that oversee the codes. If building systems, if there are particular issues, just like framers have different concerns than electricians do, and Texas has different than Massachusetts and Connecticut, whatever the differences are, we still all put it together and have our codes group look at it. Now, everything is important. And one of the things that we do, see, it's often understood, just like when we go to apply for permitting at local jurisdictions, and they're like, oh, well, those greedy builder developers, they're just looking at their pocketbook, or they don't care about wetlands or whatever it is. It's not true. We live in the communities too, as you all know. If you're a good, strong building systems and you're in a number of jurisdictions, you'd like to see consistency, some performance levels that you can support yourself, that you could say, you know, this makes sense to me, and then you're all in. So that's what we try to get, is the best feedback that we can get. And I would suggest that you do it through your codes committee. And every local and state has their codes people too. So wherever you're from, Dave, you and I have talked about this, because it's not just one town that you're looking at. It's not just one state that you're looking at. So when a code change is introduced for the model code, you take a close look at it and you'd like to say, well, okay, show me the backup on that. Why do you think if it's going to cost $2,000 per house being delivered for per panel, it's going to add $500 or whatever? Why? What good is coming from that? Is that just because one manufacturer would prefer a different color or a different placement? Let's make sure that all of these things that we're doing, and just about everybody involved, when you break it down like that, it's a good starting point because everybody agrees with that. It all boils down to, if we don't get things to be affordable for people, you're not going to get your first responders, your teachers, your firefighters to be able to live in communities where they can. If everything's so expensive, we're just going to price everybody out. That's really how basic we have to start with these code proposals. And that's where we are. So I would say, and you can contact us at this show, and we'll make sure to point anybody that would like to get involved in the right direction.
No, I appreciate that. Definitely. So, and the website was scrolling across the bottom there for people to get involved and read about what's happening. All right. And then I want to unpack the whole COVID-19 that's happening. I don't think a lot of people are sitting there saying, well, what the heck's the NAHB doing with COVID-19? Right. Why don't you tell us a little bit about the role that the NAHB is playing for builders with coronavirus, and, why it's so important that you guys are talking about it.
So if you look at, the pandemic, just the fact that it is really so disruptive for any business, well, including us, yes, certain amount of construction is outdoors. But, building systems, a lot of it, the beauty of it is that it's indoors. So you have all those requirements, not to mention we had to deal with 170% lumber increase in price from early April. We've got our arms around that. We've been in touch with the administration and Secretary Ross, who has helped us, and we're talking with those lumber yards. But what happens with COVID, if you remember, Dave, we had those shutdowns, our shutdown at our jobs, where we took time across the country to explain it to our workers, what cleanliness means, the gloves, the face masks, washing your hands, cleaning your porta-johns, the whole protocol. So we started there, and we continue with the education all the way through OSHA reporting and things like that, all the way through our advocacy role, right? So that as we look for more relief, we still have, after PPP was introduced and all the action was taken in Congress, we still have a couple places that we're seeing problems. One is that our associations haven't been able to take advantage of it, both local and states. We would like to see C6 and C3s be able to apply and take advantage of some of those PPP loans and so on but one of our main ones, and an example of exactly what you're talking about, what are we doing during this pandemic? One of them is we've seen rent relief bills across the state. Many states have implemented them, and so has the federal government. Now, why is that critical? It seems pretty good on its face that we don't necessarily want to push people to the sidewalk that have families and so on. But the fact of the matter is, if you say that people don't have to pay rent, those small landlords and people with bills, just like they might be renting somewhere else just because they own a 3, 4, even 2-family home, and now they're without rent income. So their mortgage becomes due, and that's where the cards start toppling. And many of those are our members. So what we have to insist upon is that if you have rent relief, we need rental assistance that can make its way to the landlord is one excellent example of how it's so important for us to speak and take care of our members and advocate for them.
Right.
Because at the end of the day, and Dave, it goes much worse. Forget about the individual builders and stuff. As soon as you start this ball rolling, you affect appraised values, you affect the foreclosures. Once at some point, the moratorium on foreclosures is going to go away. And that's what we keep talking to both the White House and in Congress about, is that you have to be careful that you're not making things worse in with an election coming up, trying to look better by just simply saying that people don't have to pay rent. They insist that it's not a rent vacation. But, as we point out, if you're not careful, you end up in that same boat, that it's very close to it if you're not helping the landlords out, especially the small landlords at the end of the day. Everything has consequences.
Yeah, it really does. And it does affect a lot of the landlords. I speak to them. They reach out to us on occasion too. It's tough times in a lot of places. So, all right, listen, everybody, if you're just joining us, we are on live with Greg Ugalde, the immediate past chairman of the NAHB. Please hit that like and share button. Some of the things that we're talking about, if you're just joining us, which has been wonderful, is codes reform and health. A lot of it's relating to offsite construction. So that is on the conversational table at the NAHB. So we really appreciate that that's making it to the table. And also we're talking about COVID, and we're also talking about congressional endorsements and the NAHB supporting those who are supporting our industry, supporting our housing, and trying to make things better for us. So all of that is now happening. And to boot, we're getting ready to talk about IBS next, and we're going to bring in Judy Dinelle. And I think that's going to be another awesome conversation. So, Greg, I'm going to leave it up to you. Do you want to hop into IBS now? Or
let's, yeah, just because it's going to get a little confusing because we got a couple things to show on screen because people are going to want to write this down. Okay. And I just heard from Judy in my ear. She's ready to roll. So we'll get the IBSX out and then we'll move on. So here, one of the things that I want to say, Dave, is that we've covered it. When the news broke, we came right on to your show and let everybody know that we were going to go all virtual. That for safety reasons and economic reasons, it makes sense for 2021 to be virtual. We'll really hit it hard in 2022 back in face-to-face. But, we're still going to have the same priorities that you're going to look at. So product discovery, right, education, interactive demos, and networking, all of that's still going to take place. And what we're going to do is we're going to call it IBSX with a small x. And all the information that you can get, and Dave, the beauty of it is you and I coordinated it so it would work out well. This is the first day that you can sign up for it officially. So this is super. And you're going to go to buildershow1word.com/IBSX, and it's going to stream across. And you're going to see that the dates are February 9th through 12th. So it's going to be a 4-day show for the exhibitors. Now, the great thing is, if you do jump in, you can get some early discounts, but for the price of admission, which for everything under the sun will be $199 all in. And what that is going to do is allow you to see the exhibits. And if you get in earlier, there's a lot of things that you could do for even less than that if you want to take a quick peek. A lot of it's going to be just that you're going to take advantage of it without the whole thing too. So you're going to get to try out a lot of things, see how it looks. But it's going to go all the way to the end of March. So you're going to have a long time to be able to look at this and see the new products and plans and kick the tires on a lot of things. And Mike Rowe of Dirty Jobs, he's going to be the keynote speaker. You're going to have a virtual tour of the New American Home and the New American Remodel. Everybody's always fascinated with those two shows because they show so many things that people start building into their models and across the country. So there's a lot of excitement. This is going to be something super. Hey, Dave, you make lemonade out of lemons, right? And what we're doing here is nobody really wished that we were going to have to go this route. But when you look at safety of others and you look at just what's at stake, including the fact, and you've heard me say, we usually have right around 1 million square feet of exhibit space to give everybody. That's 40 football fields. Picture that. Those are our exhibitors. And we dropped it all the way to 200,000 before we started really trying to find out who was going to set up. With that kind of fall off and what we saw with people worried about getting together, the education wasn't going to be the same and everything. So we just decided this is the best way. There's a lot of energy and it's wonderful. I mean, people are going to be very impressed with this, and you're going to be able to share it with your whole companies and stuff a lot easier this way. It's fantastic. But let's hear what Judy has to say about that, Dave.
Yeah, I have some questions, and I think Judy can help fill that in as well.
Good.
So, let's bring in Judy. Hey, Judy, how are you?
Hi, everybody. How are you?
Doing great. So, Judy Dinelle, everybody, the chair of the associate members. Judy, listen, you got a big job. Greg has a big job, but you have a big job as well, because if I might be wrong, 88,000 associate members. Is that accurate?
It's pretty accurate. It fluctuates here and there, so it makes a difference on the day. But that's it's still quite a significant. It's 2/3 of the membership of NAHB anyway. So yeah,
right.
There's such a vast amount of people and occupations, and speaking of IBSX, all the people on the show floor, most of them are all associate members also. There could be builders that are there also, but there's that dual membership thing. Like Mr. Ugalde there is also an associate member. I keep reminding him because he's a lawyer and he's also a builder, so he's got the builder membership also.
Right. That's right.
He was talking about that because 84 Lumber has a huge booth here down there, so it's going to be exciting to see all of this is going to roll in and see how the associates are going to work with that. And it seems with the COVID thing, we were talking about the COVID thing, and Dave, it hit the associates a lot also. There's a lot of businesses that could not keep going during the COVID times, and with all those issues and people couldn't come to work. And you can see I'm at my office right now. It has a door, it has a roof on it, it has everything. So I'm pretty well encapsulated within my office, but I also have my mask. So when I step out of this door, we put on our mask, and we're still doing all of our COVID regulations that we have.
Sure. So let me ask you guys about IBSX, right?
Yes.
Tell us a little bit about what the experience is going to be like. I have a feeling you had an inside look at what the virtual experience is going to be like for the associate members, the vendors, right? Because this is a big time for all the associate members to come out and meet and greet and show everything that they do to support our industry. What's the virtual experience going to be like for them? Can you give us some insight?
Well, I don't have a lot of insight on it, but I can tell you that it's going to be exciting because, like Greg said, now instead of us bringing in associates, that was one of the big things that people had to worry about down on the show floor is how are we going to bring all the people in that have to work the booth? People don't realize that how many people and employees it takes to actually run that booth and do everything that they're supposed to do in hotel rooms and everything like that. So who were we going to expose to bring there? It didn't matter now. It doesn't matter whether you were a local person or somebody that you had to fly in, because either way, it really, the situation was going to be really different.
Yeah,
that's right. And it's such a challenge because so we're coming off of answering the bell, so to speak. After we had Springboard, we were faced with a bunch of technological challenges
Yeah.
to be able to bring in different people to meet, to debate, to converse. Well, we learned an awful lot, and we continue to build on that. I mean, I'm not kidding. A few thousand different products, software products, and where we're going to be for IBS is something special, because when you think about it, you always, when you go and you're face to face and you're in a booth and you touch the products and you look, you're going to be able to work one-on-one with the vendors. You're going to be able to see all the top-notch produced sales materials and info. You're going to be able to get all your questions answered, and you're going to be able to interact as well. And you have until March 31st to do it. So it's going to be something special. One of the things that we've learned, and you both, but Judy, you hear me say this all the time, that one of the things through this pandemic, we're learning and gaining ground on a lot of these tools that we're going to use into the future. You look at everybody's budget as we're going to be challenged through these restrictions that have been imposed on us and how expensive things are going to be to hit the ground running. At the end of the day, a lot of this technology is going to save people from unnecessary travel in a way. It's also going to better a lot of the interactions. It'll never, you still got to get your hugs and handshakes and everything else. That's all, this group got together recently and it was awesome. But you still can gain the other from everything else as well, being virtual. So.
Yeah, for sure. For sure. Go ahead, Judy.
I believe in that wholeheartedly. At first, when it first came out, I was like, wow, how am I going to do this? Because I'm used to doing it the old school way. And it was a face-to-face, and you had to, if we didn't shake hands and be able to do it that way. But now with the computer system and everything, it seems like I get a lot more done, if that's get a lot done virtually, as opposed to jumping on an airplane, flying around, going into hotels, going into meetings, even though the face-to-face is still a very valuable tool. I think the virtual world is starting to become the way of life with some people, because we just can't. I just recently flew, and me and my 10 best friends were on a plane. It was the flight attendants, the pilots, and me, and maybe a few other people. So it was like really weird, and you walk through the airports, it was like scary almost, like, my goodness, is it closed, or, and things like that. But the associates that are starting to get used to that, the virtual stuff, there's a lot of people that, knew how to do this stuff previous and are teaching other people how to do this. So that's the good thing about what we have as a family of NAHB, is everybody's trying to work together, and people are sharing their experiences and teaching us all different experiences to do. And yes, is it going to be like Craig said, trying to get a new computer system and a new format, and somebody shut off and you can't chat, you can't raise your hands, it's so things like that are starting to go. But as far as on the associate stuff, I mean, we've been actually doing a lot more with trying to get new brochures out to explain the professional services that associate memberships have, and we also do it for the trades too. So that's the big thing this year, is I've been trying to make sure that we're broadening our horizons by including all the trade professionals and workforce development, and starting with things like that, and trying to reach out and figure out how are we going to get workforce development in it, so that we can get the young professionals to start joining our industry, and realizing that we are a valuable industry. And I can't remember, Greg, how many states were not on the list as deemed viable, but we have to figure, every associate that went along with that, that's part of our trade. So we were able to keep busy and keep going, and the momentum just kept on rolling. As a matter of fact, I think it actually increased the momentum. So it was, the associates are doing leaps and bounds, and even at NAHB, all the associates that belong to, and we're still gaining members. I mean, it's we just teamed up with the membership committee and came out with some new things about doing that. We brought back out of the archives to do business with a member, do business with with a member, the whole program, and we teamed up with a membership, like I said, and we also did a thing on our Facebook profile that you could do. You can have your profile picture with a ring around it that says "Do business with an NAHB member."
I think I was the first one that got to do that. It was pretty neat, Judy. Yeah, it was really pretty neat. But that's a good point. And Dave, you asked, and what Judy's touching on here is important, because you asked, so what are we doing at NAHB to bridge the gap and get us through this pandemic? Mm-hmm. When Judy was talking about when we were deemed to be essential, when this whole thing kicked off, and we had our toolbox, and we worked with our advocacy team and our public relations team, and we were quite successful around the country, getting most of our states to be out front on that, where we were essential. So we were in the same boat as healthcare and as the mail and things, because they realized that between builders, remodelers, the offsite production that we have, we needed to keep people in homes, and we needed to keep as many people working as possible. Our industry was perfect for what everybody was looking for. So in the back of our minds right now, we talk about it a lot, making sure that as we look at these new peak numbers, in many jurisdictions around the country, we're seeing peaks in some, they're saying that, and I think we're going to hit it this week, especially with the elections, we'll have 100,000 new cases again per day. We've never reached that even from the beginning, but that's a lot of new cases with a lot of hospitalizations. We have to stay sharp and keep the best practices at every job site, the best practices with all the associates. Everybody needs to be in top shape to maintain our essential qualification and designations around the country, and to make sure that when they call on us as an industry, we're there to help and perform rather than be a hindrance like so many others are.
Yeah, I'm glad you said that, because I'm sorry, Dave. I'm glad you said that, Greg, because with the associates, even the businesses, the trucking, the utilizing of job sites, and going to different offices and different protocol that everybody's having. It's a challenge, but it's also, we're watching out for everybody and making sure that that all of our procedures are in place too, because it is part of the industry. Everybody had in their mind that it was going to be just our tradespeople out there. Well, our tradespeople are all associates, so we're watching out for all of that, and the builders. But you got to think about all the associate, the salespeople, the retail people, the real estate people, the people that go in just landscapers, everything that goes into a house, that's part of it, all has to be part of this, and they have to keep from the beginning to the end. So their whole company has to be that way, even all the way down to trucking. Just look at the trucking right now, or what's happening with them. So it's the learning curve, and the knowledge that we keep sending out as associates and as NAHB associates is viable to everybody, because if we didn't have that knowledge of what everybody else is going through, how are we going to help the progress?
Well, and that's it, right? And that's everybody pulling in the same direction. And it takes everybody in this industry, not just the builders, but all the associate members, because it's mostly the associate members, right, that have to make sure that we're all towing the line and doing the right things on job site safety, and so forth. So,
yeah, we were talking about that, with the virtual chats that the associates have. We have every other Tuesday, we have virtual chats, and we're bringing in tradespeople. We're bringing in different committees and councils so that the associates can learn all there is to know about the other viable avenues that are out there that they can work for and work with and interact with, like the building systems, for instance. You could go peddle your wares within the building systems. You can learn about codes, because if you get shut down because there's some product that you just put online, and all of a sudden the codes don't let it go in, well, what are you going to do? You just manufactured something that all of a sudden the codes won't let you go. And that's where we go to battle for that particular thing to make housing affordable. Don't shut us down. Don't shut off the manufacturers. We need to keep, everybody needs to keep rolling.
Yeah, for sure. So, and we're going to hop into some more Building Systems Council things that are coming up with the associate members, but I think we should take a moment and say hello to a few people. What do you think?
Yes.
Sure. I love it.
The fun part about the show is the interaction. So, on the like side, we have Andrew Seeley from G-Pod out there, Devin Perry, who you guys may know.
Hey.
Now that's a hard work right there. Robin Haberly, Eric Fleming, Tiffany McCall, Jenny Mel, George Ryman. Here, look, even George says, good morning from the smart state that doesn't participate in the archaic practice of daylight savings time.
Yes, that is smart.
That's true, though.
Pleasure. Yeah. And Tiffany McCall, current chair of the Building Systems Council. What is happening, Tiffany? Another hard worker in our industry.
Yes,
I love it.
Very much so.
Mark Willie dyed his beard and sunglasses purple just for you today.
Oh, that's awesome, though. Look at that.
Yeah.
I love it.
It looks just like him. I would have guessed it was you, Mark. Behind those shades.
Look at that. He even has a smirk. You see, it's kind of.
Yeah.
I love it. All right. We got some questions down below here, but let's get through. Al at Tennessee. How are you, Al? Good to see you. I love it. Jennifer, as always, in the background, doing great things, reforming the building codes development and process. Stay informed, putting up some of the websites. Shane McNutt from Nudo. Good afternoon from Ohio. Great information, he says. So there's some compliments, everybody. All right. One of my favorites, Michael Weber. Always good information from Greg. All right.
Hey, Judy, it's funny because Michael used to sit next to me for years when we were on exec together, because it's alphabetical.
Yeah.
But the funniest thing that we always laugh at is that for every other meeting you switch, so they put the back of the alphabet up front. We were always in front of the podium having to go to the bathroom.
Oh, yeah.
And you're sitting right in front of the speaker. We're like, this can't be. It was so funny. We laugh about that to this day. Good times.
Oh, I love it. Well, Michael Weber, he does a lot with the NAHB. He's been around a long time, and one of the top minds, at least as that I know, in the concrete industry.
He's in concrete, yeah. And he explains it to me, Dave. That's why I was so glad to see when you had him on during Building Systems Week. But that stuff is fascinating. And, I think, and I tell them this all the time, one of the restrictions that they have is they just can't deliver to as many places that would demand his products.
Right.
It's just too hard to get it everywhere right now. He's got to grow carefully first. And his whole industry, they've got good minds and a good process.
The concrete industry is crazy. And I always tell associates, I said, make them your best friends, because that's the first person that a builder calls is your concrete people. I said, so they need to be your best friends. I said, because they're going to find out every job that there is to find out with that. My chair of my subcommittee for advocacy under associates is in the concrete business. So that's what he does. He's a manager of a concrete down in South Carolina concrete company.
Well, Michael these days is, I don't know where it's at. I got to look, but one of his clips from our interview has reached, I think, 22,000 views.
Oh,
and
nice.
concrete clip is over 92,000. So I don't know. I'm hoping that he remembers me so I can be his manager or something someday. So, all right. Love it.
It's an autograph.
Well, I love concrete because I did my whole house is built out of ICF. So
yeah.
I don't know if I could say name brands on this show, but
hey, listen, this is not edited, Judy. It's whatever you want to say. Just keep it clean.
My whole house is made out of Logix. So
Logix.
Perfect. I got 12-inch walls and they're filled with 8 inches of concrete with all that. So all the way to the roof, 2-story.
Yeah, great. I love it. ICF's a good thing. All right, let's get to the panelized world. How about Jerry McCahey from Integra? What's happening, Jerry? Hey, Jerry would be really happy to know that we're talking about offsite codes. He's a huge advocate in our industry, and man, what a heck of a speaker too. All right, maybe it's that accent of his as well. Who knows?
That's right.
All right, we got Adam White all the way across the pond. Good to see you, Adam. We have Better Construction with Sean McStay. For code reform, how do you suggest we balance mandatory versus optional codes and keep high-performance builders competitive?
Yeah, see, that's exactly what we're talking about in the affordability space, is that what you don't want to do. Hey, Dave, look, when you look at my thing, see my hockey players and stuff? I know that's a cover of Sports Illustrated. I just noticed that. So, but what happens is that's exactly, we have, in our building systems groups, in our members tend to be the very high performers, those that take their job sites very serious and build in the highest requirements possible. So therefore, anybody that's ducking it and not living up to that level has quite an advantage when you're bidding or whether you're giving proposals for certain jobs. So when you're looking at codes, that's why we really need the codes professionals to focus on what's right, both economically. Sure, there's social impact. There's no question. We have to look at that all the time. But we need people that know the difference between what's required, what's luxury, what we can build safe, sound homes that people can afford. That's the equation that we need at the end of the day. That's where we all have to end up.
Perfect. Hey, Sean, always a pleasure, man. Thank you for asking that question.
Thanks, John.
All right, Tom Reddy. With code reform on the table, how long does something like this take to move from on the table to actionable change we'll be working with? And is there anything we can be doing down here in the weeds to assist?
So it's interesting, Tom, because the way that the codes work, you're going to have your local jurisdictions in your states that end up having the final say. Remember, I talked about code amendments and things. So what you have to do, to ICC's credit, they're listening to what we're saying right now about codes, to our appeals, the ones that we've won and those that we need to do future work on. They want to build a lot of these fixes in right into the next code cycle that starts in January. So to answer your question, the code cycle develops per jurisdictional, each jurisdiction around the state. The jurisdictional requirements are the ones that dictate that. So what my answer is that you always want to be involved, that there's always something happening. I know in Connecticut it's different than Mass, is different than Rhode Island. And I'm talking about just here in New England. Forget about when we look at Texas and Florida and other people that I've just heard from over the last couple of weeks. We had some Georgia input. We had Oklahoma that was telling us about their things, Washington State. So everybody has different ways to get involved. So let's get you the information you need. National can help with that. We can get you pointed to the state HBRAs and locals where you can hit the ground running and really be able to help. There's always help needed in the codes area, especially people that know right from wrong, good from bad.
Yeah. No, that's
And
another
Greg,
great question.
just to give one further on that, they're always NHB is always looking for that local or that state representative that you could volunteer your time to help them to go to some of these meetings, especially on your local level and your state level, and then report back so that we get NHB can understand what you're going through and get a little bit of insight. And we have somebody there that can speak the language of that particular local or state.
Good.
Yeah, for sure. All right, moving down the line. Thank you. Another great question. All right, so Michael Weber says the NAHB's TNAH 21 is an all concrete home with decorative concrete floors.
Yes.
That's one of the show homes down in Florida, I'm assuming.
The New American Home, yes.
New American Home. Thank you for saying that. Yep. Perfect. I love it. Well, if I just want everybody to know, because I know we may be freezing up here and again. I know I've seen Greg freeze up a few times. Maybe I'm freezing up, but we have a big windstorm blowing through New England at the moment.
It's 50 miles an hour today, Dave. 50 miles an hour.
Yeah,
Had that North Carolina yesterday and the day before. So, yep.
Yeah. And I think with that said, we also had a snowstorm. So why don't we just take a minute, Greg? You sent me some photos. So I want to show people what we're going through in New England.
Yeah,
it's 30 degrees. Next day it's 70 degrees, and then it's 30 degrees. And then we're gonna do a couple more comments, and then we're gonna get back to how the associate members and the Building Systems Council at the NAHB are going to interact here coming up. So I think this is a big, big move. So do not go anywhere. I think this is vitally important to our industry that the associate members, 88,000 of them, are going to have the opportunity to interact with the NAHB and why it is a good opportunity for them to be involved in building systems. All right, here we go, Greg. These are beautiful photos. So all credits to Greg. He took them on his phone. Here we go. Look at that.
That's just in my driveway, you guys. That's, I took the dogs out and that's what I saw. I said, I got to grab these.
Yeah.
Imagine that though. And the beauty of it is with the rain today, we didn't even have to shovel it. How great is that? Yeah. They plow, but I do have to shovel a couple walks, not being the big martyr or anything.
Oh, I love it. I mean, look at it. It's beautiful, right? I mean, that is one of the benefits of New England. We do get some beautiful times until you have to be the one out there shoveling it.
Exactly.
It's wet and cold. It's fun. It's fun to look at. So definitely. All right. A couple more quick comments here. Mark Willie put up dirty jobs with Mike Rowe and put the link up. Hey.
Yes. Thank you, Mark, because that's a biggie. That's a biggie. We can't wait to have our members. I don't know if you remember. So last year I was in charge of opening ceremony. So I got to give my talk, but I also got to interview A-Rod. So you remember I had a little joke about if you ever see J-Lo, can you please tell her she was great in her latest movie? I mean, it was just fun. It was totally fun. But this promises to be adventurous, fun, but good information. This is what we're talking about. Mike Rowe has a lot to talk about and teach us. And this year is going to be special.
Well, I'm gonna reach out to Mike Rowe. Maybe we can get a follow-up interview after that show and bring him here on Dave Cooper for everybody. He can help.
I'm sure he'd be happy to do it.
Young people.
Yep.
I love it. All right. Keep rolling down the line here. Thanks, Mark, for putting that up there. Tiffany McCall says, thank you, Judy. Associates are the lifeline. Very important. Very important. And the one and only Devin Perry. He's going to cover all of our faces with this one. He's putting up.
There we go.
NAHB associate members. Congratulations to Laura Dwyer for her appointment to the Wells Fargo Commercial Buildings and Housing Advisory Innovative Incubator. All right. So you guys know Laura Dwyer from DuPont?
Oh, yes. Very well. Very good friend of mine.
She is a spectacular human being. I have had the pleasure of interviewing her and meeting her on several events, and it's never a dull moment, and I appreciate everything she does. So that's really
great too. That's great that thank you for that info too, to be broadcast like that. That's helpful.
It is. It is. And here, Judy, this is something we were talking about, right? Alistair Sawyer, great discussion on codes to better understand the USA structure. You know, this is a big thing. We talked about the NAHB and the global commitment to housing and building. And I know on this show, just like with Alistair, we're all around the world. Alistair, Vietnam. So,
Nice.
Okay.
yeah.
Is that so where was that house? That's a beautiful house. I see you put it up once in a while when he speaks.
Yeah.
Is
So
that in?
we haven't. Yeah. So when he comes, it's just on his profile. So,
Okay. Because that's a beautiful.
Yeah.
That's
So
very cool.
they're building all over the world, but they also have projects right here in Miami. So it is a
Mhm.
global thing happening now with
Mhm.
everybody. So,
Yep.
all right. So let's get into this, Judy. I think this is going to be a fabulous conversation right now. So why don't you tell us what's going on with the Building Systems Council and the associate members? And that date, let me pull it up. I made a thing here. That is on the November 17th, right? Associates Committee virtual chat with Building Systems Council. You want to give us the rundown?
Sure. Well, we're having our two of my favorite people, Greg and Mr. Cooper. You're going to be on there also, and we're going to have the building system. So, with the I talked a little bit about the virtual chats that the associates have every other week. Actually, it's every other week now, and depending on the holidays, of course, and stuff like that. So we've been introducing a lot of the different committees and councils that associates can get involved with. We just talked about codes where they can get onto codes, but we've had the different things, and so the 17th is going to be where we're going to be introducing the building systems council to the associate members, so that we can network between the two committees. We can figure out how to, like I was telling you, that there's multiple ways of selling your wares and the different committees and councils that you can get involved with. You're just not, when you say that your membership is under a certain, whether you're an associate or whatever, and you want to be part of the building systems, or you want to be part of associates, or you want to be part of this, you don't have to be just tie yourself into one thing. You can go ahead and get involved in a multiple of different committees and stuff within NAHB that's going to help your business. If you're into the codes, you can go ahead and sign up to get onto that. Education, the conventions, you could get into federal government, you could get into land development, whatever your passion is within all of these systems, you could get in there. Well, the 55 plus, we're going to do in December. We're going to be talking about the 55 plus industry, but November is the Building Systems Council, and so we're going to have a bunch of people on there talking, and it's from 2 to 3, and this gives an education, like I said, to the different areas that people want to get involved in. I think that it's really important for us to be more diverse within our industry, so that we can network between our different committees. You could, while attending these different committees, you can find out what it is that what it is that you do for a living, and where do you think that this is going to fit into that committee, and all the different people that you're going to get involved with and know. So the networking part of this is now that we're virtual, we can't see each other, we can't have parties, we're networking online. This is a great way to get a little bit more intimate on your networking functions. So it's going to be a great thing, and I can't wait to talk about how associates are involved with the building systems. They even have an associates subcommittee within building systems. So it's going to be a lot of fun. It's a lot of great people are going to be talking about it.
Yeah, they definitely are. Devin Perry, if you're out there listening, and I think that Michael Weber as well, all part of the Building Systems Council, and at various levels throughout their time serving on boards. And Devin's with the NAHB Building Systems Council. This is a big deal, to me.
Yep.
I've been in the building systems world for a long time, and I think bringing the industries together so we can all work together and build a brighter future for everybody, to include the associates and the builders, and collectively and collaborating together to change, a little bit on making things better and affordable housing, all these things that we need to resolve. Judy, I commend you. I mean, I think this is fabulous that this has even made the agenda. So I'm a big supporter. Let me know what we can do.
I have a tremendous team that I work with, Dave, that are just really a large team of very intelligent and very passionate people, along with, that just help me guide. And, the big thing too is about the trade professionals coming in, because everybody's looking for the trade professionals right now. So they belong to the associates committee. So with this, it's an introduction to them that they're still doing their profession, but you could do it indoors.
Right.
When the elements are bad or when the elements are good, you're still indoors in a great place, a great facility. And so it's the introduction to that, and to the children that are coming up, and to the kids that we're still trying to get, trade professionals, we're still trying to get student chapters and all that. That's why I spoke to you, Dave, a little bit further on that, about getting some of your content so that we can share that within our workforce development program that we're putting together, all the little snippets of different professions besides carpentry or building, and the facets that go along with this to make a house. It takes 1 million people to do a house. What was it, Greg? I think it's 300 and some odd different professions in a house.
Yeah. Depending on how you do it, building systems saves quite a few of those.
And building systems, Quay's right. But, along with all that, we're going to teach our workforce that there's this whole different avenue that they can go down and look at.
Judy, I mean, we've talked about it. I can go 100 different directions with this, even with people that are on the show. I'm seeing, liking and sharing, Dr. Brett Musson and, some others. There's so much opportunity now for young people in our industry, because guess what? We are using computers. We are using robots.
Right.
For the love of it, we have Icon 3D Printing, who we just visited in Austin, Texas, just got a contract with NASA to use their concrete 3D printing system, working with moon dust to figure out how you can print a house on the moon. Wow. It's here and it's happening. And that's the extreme, of course, but we got robots and exciting things happening throughout this industry. And a lot of it is not swinging hammers. A lot of it is technology. And, we need their young minds and we need their young ideas.
David,
can I go to that job site, by the way?
It's interesting too.
Can I go to that job site?
Oh, the one on the moon? Yeah. It's waiting outside your door. It'll pick you up soon.
So, one of the things, Dave, that we try to do when we reach out to these young people is, because across the board now, you have this built-in tension between families wanting for so long for their kids to go to college and to whatever your major is going to be, whatever you can do. What we're saying now is you got to, and we've talked about this before on your show, but you got to be able to work with your hands and look at this. But the picture we paint is, picture your 5th year reunion. When you show up, you don't have any college debt, no credit card debt. You're driving in your new car, you own your home, and you're taking classes at night. You own your own business, and you got the world, by the tail. And that's what it's not far-fetched. When you look at building systems, and as you wrestle through trying to come up with what each thing is called, or is there a title that can fit an overriding bridge to bring everything under the sun, that's where a lot of today's youth will be attracted to. I guarantee it. Yeah. That there's something, as you just said, between the technology, the good, clean, hard work, that at the end of the day, you go home feeling good about yourself. You can have leadership, your own business, entrepreneurial, just the whole thing. It's right there. It's right there. We just have to package it, put it in a bottle, and make sure that everybody gets one.
right.
Yeah. People under the
Drink the Kool-Aid. Drink the Kool-Aid.
That's it. I love it. Well, listen, guys, girls, we're at 1:03, an hour and 3 minutes. We really went at it. So
Wow.
Is there anything that you feel is super important that both of you would like to leave the audience with today before we sign off?
I would say that if you are not a member of NAHB, then you need to call me or Greg, and we can give you more information about why you should be a member and how it will help you in your business in the future.
Good. Yeah, I was going to hit that, Dave. Thank you, Judy. And just one other thing, too, for all of those that were interested in the codes, I saw there was quite a bit of talk about that. I am co-chairing a task force on codes and affordability. Our deliverables are due at IBS, and we can keep everybody that is thirsting for information in this area updated on that. It's all the topics that we just talked about. It's where codes are going in the future, how we're going to interact, and we'll keep everybody informed. Thank you all. Keep doing what you're doing. Keep the excitement up. This is a good group, and you're going to see before long it's going to grow exponentially.
Greg, thank you so much. Judy, thank you so much.
Thank you.
All
you. I appreciate it.
No, we appreciate both of you. So just hang tight. We'll come back to you after the outro here. But listen, everybody, thank you one last time. Please hit that like and share button so we can grow what we are doing. We can tackle it.
This is what Mark does.
What's that?
This is what Mark does.
2 thumbs. I love it. I love it. See, you guys know the rules. All right. There you have it, everybody. I'm Dave Cooper, Judy Dinelle, and Greg Ugalde. Until next month, thank you both so much. We'll see you next time.
Thanks. Bye, everybody.
Thank you. Bye-bye, everybody.
Bye now.